this week's episode of Solutions Brewing Podcast. I'm Rob. I'm joined with Steven and Brendan.
Hiyo.
And today we are live at Brendan's house. We're recording in the backyard.
Just after the rainstorm.
Just after the rainstorm, that's right.
A little less exciting than live at the Unicorn, but still I feel like a great location.
Yeah.
Still got a little bit of sprinkle, but that's okay.
Enjoying the first, I can actually see blue sky. There's no haze or anything else that's around right now. The
only haze is these beers.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have to point out that of the 3 beers that we just opened, you two are drinking the hazy IPAs.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking the red.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had this one before. This is the Origin Long Days Hazy IPA.
Yeah, I don't know if I've had Origins hazy. Typically, that's where I generally drifted to hazies. And I know I've said I've kind of veered away from them, but then I kind of went back to I don't know. Maybe I'll have one next.
It is pretty tasty. I would have one next.
All right. Well, we'll start with this red and we'll see how it goes because it is raining and I feel like it's kind of an Irish day.
I was going to say red like the sun's been this morning. Jeez Louise.
Oh, my word. Yeah. I was a little worried. There was the Stamps game today, and I woke up this morning and smelled smoke, and I was like, are they even going to be able to set the players on the field and all that sort of stuff? Sure enough, there was we're looking at it. Okay, we can do it, but we have to do it a half hour later. And because they did it a half hour later, they got into the middle of a thunderstorm at halftime, and so the whole game was halted for an hour, and I don't know. It's a preseason game, so I didn't stick around to see what happened.
Must have been smokier here in Calgary, because in Airdrie it wasn't that bad today.
Morning was smoky.
Yeah.
This morning when we got up, we thought we were going to go for a walk, and it was so bad, it was at 10 at our house on the air quality index,
right,
that we went to the science center instead. We're just like, yeah, let's go somewhere indoors that's air conditioned. And so did a good chunk of Calgary also went to the science center. So
Also Home Depot, because I went to Home Depot today. Home Depot is also air conditioned. Also had 1 million people in it.
Yep.
You can look over at my wreckage of partially built garden boxes, and yeah, that took a pile of work to actually get. Not because it's hard to actually pick the lumber, it's just weaving in between the people to get to it.
Yep. And you got your big cart and you're trying to be like, no, I don't want to smack someone with it, and they're like, okay, just move just a foot, just move slightly out of my way so I can get by. And no, it doesn't happen.
And I have my son with me, so there's a limit to how much you can curse and yell and
No, you're just teaching him new words.
not the words I want him to learn right now.
Yeah, until they repeat them and you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah. No, he's starting to repeat words. So
well, at least you know where he learned them from.
I had to double check to see how his repetition is. So we were walking up from the cart into the Home Depot, and I was like, oh, well, look, there's an electric Mustang. The electric Mustangs look nothing like an actual Mustang.
No, it's a crossover thing.
It's a weird, bizarre. Yeah, it's like a half SUV, and I was like, a bizarre rebranding, but whatever. And so I was like, oh, look, Riley, there's a new fancy Mustang. Can you say fancy? He was like, oh, yeah, fancy, cool. All right. You can now reiterate words and understand their connotations a little too well. I have to watch my mouth.
That kind of reminds me, you guys know those little plastic cars for kids? It's almost like the little Flintstones car.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I saw a little clip of a kid, he got it stuck. And he couldn't get it out, and he got out, slammed the door of the thing, called it a piece of shit.
Yep. Nope. Where did he learn that from, I wonder?
Love it. Absolutely love it. Kids are sponges.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. And there's no kidding around. So what are we talking about today? I completely forgot. I invited you all to my house and said we should do a podcast, and then I remember we had an idea. But I don't remember what it was.
Oh, geez.
The idea was you guys were going to berate me for never voting.
You never voted?
Yes.
Never voted.
Actually, I remember this now, yeah. So, locally, for those who are not in Alberta, we're in the midst of election season.
All right, and we need to preface everything here by saying that this is not a podcast about any political affiliation or anything like that. I don't give a shit who anybody votes for. I have my opinion. Steve has his opinions. Rob, I'm sure, has his opinions, even though he's never expressed them publicly.
And that is the thing, is that, ever since I was able to vote, I have voted in every election that I've possibly done, like provincial, local, anything like that. And Brendan, I know you're along the same lines.
Municipal, school trustee.
Yeah, school trustee. I've done all that.
Neighborhood watch.
Yeah, dog catcher. Vote for your dog catcher. But when we were at the Unicorn and having that little together, it came to light that Rob had never voted.
That's right.
So, anyway, to finish the disclaimer here, if you're looking for a podcast to tell you who to vote for, it's not this one. However, we may or may not mention through the intervening discussion certain beers or other drinks that may or may not remind us of certain party affiliations.
Based purely on label.
Well, no, there's some taste qualities as well that we might go through. But anyway, that's the disclaimer. This is not a political podcast, but we are going to talk politics, or at the very least, berate Rob about politics for the next up to 20 minutes.
Yeah, up to 20 minutes. So the first question is, Robert, you've been on this earth for, almost 39, 40 years at this point.
I'm 40 years old right now.
Yep, and you've been able to vote since you were 18, so you've been able to vote for longer than...
It's 22 years.
Yeah, for 22 years. And...
for longer than many of our listeners may have been alive.
Yes. And
potentially.
And so the big question is, why not?
Because I don't like the party system.
That's...
Go on. There's
Because you don't vote for a person, you're voting for a party. So I don't see the way I think it should work is you vote for the person who's best suited for the job, and that doesn't work in our current system.
No, that's an astute point. It's something that I've complained about a lot. The way the system is intended to be set up is that you vote for the MLA or the MP for your area.
Or alderman or whatever.
Whatever
Scale.
Who should be the person that is best suited to your interests.
Bob the dog catcher.
But because they can't even get into the system unless they're aligned with a certain party, then once they're aligned with that party, they have to vote with that party, whether or not it aligns with their constituency or not.
Yeah, that block voting, I don't like that. So
It causes a huge issue. So no, fair enough.
And I get that because, I remember, when I last voted for my MLA, it was for a provincial or a federal election. He was originally a provincial MLA, and he became a federal MP. I'm just trying to remember his name. Oh, geez. But yeah, I voted for him, but by the transitive property, I was also voting for his federal party leader, because a vote for the local guy is also a vote for the, if he does get in, and he did get in that election, it's directly giving power and credence to the federal leader, which you may or may not agree with.
Which is unfortunate, because the leaders are actually decided by party votes.
Yeah.
And only members of the party, not necessarily elected members, but people who believe enough in, say, the Conservatives or the NDP or the Liberals to buy party memberships and then go on and vote. So it's the hardcore members of, quote-unquote, hardcore members of the party that are voting in these leaders.
Card-carrying members of the party, I think is the official term.
Are you a card-carrying communist?
I might have been in my 20s.
All right. Then you could have voted for the Communist Party leader.
I did. I voted for the Marxist-Leninists on the East Coast. It was hilarious.
Oh, my God.
Oh my gosh.
I was one of the 125 people that threw away my vote in that election.
My word. That's why nobody... So there's a lot of discussions now about lowering the voting age, and I think there's a lot of arguments to raise it based on solely what Steve's testimony was right there.
Yeah, I think
he was like, I was at university, so I voted for the communists.
I think I was 19 at the time.
I don't think you had any actual political knowledge or leanings or anything. You just did it because it was funny.
Yeah, I did it because it was funny. That was a federal election, too.
Go ahead. Throw your vote away. But it is certainly a gap and an interesting disillusionment. Even in our current election in Alberta, we've got basically two parties contending.
Yeah, that's it.
Even though there's 9 parties running, 7 of them don't matter. That's kind of a problem. There's a lot of other viewpoints other than the 2 chief parties that are out there, and a lot of people have agreements and disagreements with both of those lead parties, but there's now this I need to vote for one or the other, otherwise you're throwing your vote away, and it's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, and you're not voting, especially in this upcoming election, you're not voting for your MLA, you're voting for who's going to run the province.
Yeah, which again is stupid,
Orange or
because
blue.
your MLA should actually have a voice and be able to have a spine and be able to say, like, no, I don't agree with the party line on this or that. So an interesting case was last election out in Bray Creek, because Bray Creek, Banff Canmore, all that sort of stuff, one of the hot topics was the Springbank Dry Dam.
Oh, yeah.
And so every MLA there ran on the platform of opposing the Springbank Dry Dam, because it's a very good, the Springbank Dry Dam, major project, a bunch of infrastructure work going in place, and it's intended to be a catch basin for a bunch of water in the event of a flood to protect Calgary.
Because for those who don't know, there was a major flood back in 2013 that severely damaged downtown Calgary and flooded a bunch of other communities north and south on the Bow and Elbow rivers.
Yeah.
So this was a plan to basically have a temporary reservoir, essentially, for if the flows did get too high, water could get diverted and hopefully save infrastructure and housing and land below where the dam was going to go in.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a project that wasn't greatly admired by the residents of Bray Creek or any of the other communities upstream of Springbank, largely because it didn't protect them. It protected Calgary. So
yeah.
And again, for better or worse, or whatever the technical merits of it, all the candidates kind of ran on the idea of opposing the continued development of that project. The MLA that was elected was part of the UCP, I believe.
Yeah.
And long story short, they ran on the campaign of voting against it. They voted with it.
Yep, as soon as they got into the legislature.
Because it was a party line vote that was required. And it was just a disappointing kind of thing.
See, that's another thing that bothers me. Like, what's the point? Like, that to me, that defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah. And that's fair. That's a fair criticism of the current system.
It's very rarely that the MP, like an MP or an MLA, can actually vote what their actual constituents are. Like, it's very rare at the federal level, and in provincial level, it's even less so. Like, I find that there's not very cross votes or, split votes on various issues. It's usually fairly monolithic at the provincial level.
So really, we should just discuss better ways to spoil our ballot to express our displeasure then.
Like ranked choice voting? That would be awesome.
Well, so that's not spoiling the ballot. I have said for years that I would vote for any party that will bring in ranked ballot voting, ranked choice voting. Because I feel like it'll help correct a lot of these issues, because you'll start getting places that are actually trying to appeal their constituents as opposed to trying to appeal to the extreme of the party line. Because once it's important that you're not necessarily first, but it's equally as important to be the second choice, you start bringing a lot of people closer to the center and hopefully actually listening to the people that are voting for them. And hopefully people that are voting actually start paying attention to what the people that are the local candidates are saying, as opposed to just what the party line is saying. But I don't know. Maybe that's too optimistic.
Yeah, you gotta be a little bit more pessimistic in your politics, buddy.
God damn it. Fuck it. Why vote forever?
There you go.
But
But then again, X929 says, just vote, damn it.
yeah.
So that also has a curse in it, so I feel like that is equal weight.
that might appeal to you, Rob. Just vote, damn it.
Actually, this one I probably will end up voting, because there have been comments that I have not appreciated.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stupid stuff said that I understand that you would be very pissed off about.
Yep.
So that's fair.
So you're getting into the game, probably for the first and only time only. We'll see.
You know what, guys? Here's to a protest vote.
Yes, protest vote.
Protest vote. Yeah.
This beer actually is really good.
This one is...
It's quite tasty. Yeah. Pretty drinkable too.
I feel like 6% is high for a red.
That is a little high for a red.
If you're going to do it like that high, you should have a decent amount of residual sugar in it too, to make sure it's not so bitter or anything like that.
Yeah, but it's described as an easy drinking beer that's reddish copper in color. And I feel like as soon as you get to 6%, unless you're as smooth and easy drinking as the Friends Night Out Solutions beer, then it's a little tough to pull off that easy drinking label. Like, this one does have that little bit of ethanol finish. Which you can tell there's something a little higher zoot going on there. But, okay. That's just me.
But yeah, so it's actually very interesting because speaking of the voting, like, so we've gone like through about 3 weeks of just like campaign this, campaign that.
We've gone through 3 months of campaigning. That's another stupid thing about this election.
3 weeks of official.
Why have they been campaigning for 3 months? My God, there should be a law against that, and I thought there was.
There's one against overt politicizing, but if there's an action committee or a political action group,
I'm pretty sure if they throw an ad out saying vote for this person.
Well, it's an issue. It's an issue ad that's like, oh, did you hear this issue about this person? Like, so they're skating around the rule, through the loophole that's about a mile wide and a mile high sort of thing. It's not that hard.
I don't appreciate. I also don't appreciate
playing in a gray area kind of deal.
Yeah.
I also don't appreciate receiving text messages before the writ is dropped. Or any of that BS. It's like, no, you shouldn't be texting me after the writ is dropped. I sure as hell don't want to get it before.
Yeah, I've literally, my spam folder on my phone is just full. Like, I went through and cleared it today. I had like other scammers and stuff. It was that like half were scammers, half were political ones. I had about 30 in my thing. It was just...
I was getting a bunch of political ones. I was so happy my phone never rang for it, or the text message never dinged. It just went straight to spam. I was like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, Google's like, now we know where this has come from. This goes automatically into the bad box.
Here's a sign that you're doing things wrong. When your attempt to curry votes is going into the same folder as the people attempting to steal your money.
And then I have a package at FedEx, and I just have to click this link, and it'll bring me. It'll bring me to my tracking thing.
Oh, that's another thing. If you send me a text message say, "Please take this survey, follow this link." Hello. They train us not to push those buttons. Like, holy cow.
But as I was going to say, it's so.
And I'm supposed to trust you to run the government? You can't even code me properly.
As I was going to say, though, it's been 3 months of unofficial, 3 weeks of official, and tomorrow is the first of advanced voting. So there's a variety of spots all across the province that
I guess I need to figure out how that's actually done. I've never done it, so I have to figure it out.
We should have received something in the mail.
Yeah, like an elections thing.
I did, but I didn't read it.
Did you throw it out?
I don't know.
Likely.
I'm sure there's a website.
There's also a website.
Electionsalberta.ca or something.
I'm sure I can.
Elections, something like Google it.
I'm sure I could Google it. Yeah.
Google that shit.
Yeah. Because like I had to update my wife's one because the last time we were not married, but now we are married, so we had to change our name and all that in the official stuff.
Shit, that's right.
Yeah,
you guys have gone through that.
Yeah. So we, I got it all updated, and then we'll probably go after work tomorrow. Just head over because it's not too far from us. It's
I'm gonna wait till last minute. I got another week to pull this shit off.
No, you get it done early, get it out of the way.
I'm gonna see if any of these like spam messages will convince me one way or the other. Maybe one will get through.
Maybe Gary from Insert Party here will finally reach that cold dead heart of yours.
You know what? I'm actually hoping that one of the parties that is not actually have a candidate in my riding will reach out to me, and then I'll like show up at the ballot box and just as a writing candidate be like this guy from another riding. Because again,
do they even count those ones? Probably not.
No, it's a spoiled ballot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a protest vote. It's one of those like this system is a little bit stupid. Or maybe I'll just write in the guy who votes for ranked ballot.
I'm gonna say I think there's I was gonna say the CBC actually has a whole thing on their it's called their vote compass. It actually tells you
that is interesting.
It actually it tells you where like they'll ask you it'd be more accurate with more questions, but they ask you 30 questions about like, hey, on this particular issue, where would you line up? And it was on in previous ones. It's not in this one, but it did actually say like ranked choice, like election processes or anything like that. And they had a couple questions, and that was what it was. And then you could actually see officially what the parties thought one way or the other. But it's actually an interesting tool to figure out where you're at. I'm basically dead center.
Yeah.
Yeah, like economically and socially, I'm just like pretty much dead center. So, but yeah, it's...
You know what was the disappointing part about doing that? So I do the vote compass regularly, like every election.
Yeah.
To see, and I'm fairly consistent in my placement.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting one for me was the Alberta Party, who used to align with me,
Mm-hmm.
and then for whatever reason, this election is now like the Communist Party.
Yeah, they
went way left and way up.
well, that's the thing. They're more economically left and more socially left than the NDP party.
Yeah,
which is hilarious because they
yeah.
used to be the little C party, a little conservative party.
They used to be basically what the progressive conservatives used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the United Conservatives went way right of the progressive conservatives.
Yeah.
But, and this is my theory about the last elections, they were the only conservative party there, and everybody was like, well, Alberta's conservative. We used to like the progressive conservatives. We're going to vote for them. We're going to try to vote for the conservatives without the corruption. And then what they got was something that was way more right than they were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why everybody basically got upset at them yelling at nurses and doctors and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Don't do that.
that's not really what we wanted.
No.
But anyway, the Alberta Party used to kind of be like, oh, this is the party that we wanted. This was right in line with what the PCs used to be. And then
They got electorally wiped out.
and then they didn't win anything. So now they're like, wow, we're going to be the communists.
But not as communist as the Green Party. Or the Green Party of Alberta.
Yes, okay, fair. They're not as communist as the Green Party.
Or the Liberals. Actually, no, I think they're...
Well, no, I don't know.
Actually, no, I think they're more socially left than the Liberal Party, but they're not as economically as left.
Anyway, I don't anticipate this election going terribly well for them based on their placement.
Well, I think they still have an old white guy running their party, which the only time they actually did win was a guy in his like 40s or 50s who like ran for years or whatever, finally got in, stepped aside because he's like, I've taken this party as far as I can go. Like now it's someone else to come up.
And now they've regressed.
And then they elected an old white guy and they just gone complete opposite direction.
Oh, man. Politics is fun to talk about.
No, it's not.
All right.
That's why you need a couple beers first. Then politics gets interesting.
Well, Rob, if somebody
That just makes people fight.
somebody wanted to disagree with you or agree with you about politics being fun to talk about, how would they let you know?
Well, the best way is you go to our website, solutionsbrewing.com. There's a contact us page there. Just send us an email. If you prefer, just send us a straight email. That's noproblems@solutionsbrewing.com. Or, if you prefer social media, we're available at Solutions Brewing Co., and that is on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
And to steal from X929, just vote, damn it.
Yep, just vote, damn it. Yeah, early voting starts tomorrow and goes for 5 days, and then the official elections at the end of the month.
Does it start tomorrow or does it start today? When does this release?
Oh, yeah, sorry, it happened yesterday.
Shit.
Well, today is Monday.
Well, but the episode will go up on Thursday, and the early voting starts on Tuesday.
Oh, there you go.
So 2 days ago.
It started 2 days ago, so if you haven't voted yet,
you've missed it.
You've missed it, and you got to go to your polling station right away.
All right, so don't listen to us.
We're happy to
go check Elections Alberta or whatever the actual website is and find out where you can vote.
Yes, happy to confuse.
Well, I'm going to go back to this delicious beer and then try this, this red ale here from Common Crown in a second.
All right.
All right. Sounds good.